And welcome everyone to the first week of your sport and recreation sales. We're going to be going over chapter 1 in your Selling in the Sport Industry book. You were tasked with reading that chapter, so this should be information that you've seen at least before, especially the key terms. So I'm not going to reiterate most of what the book has said. I'm just going to highlight a certain few areas that I think are really important and add a little bit of my personal flair into it as well. So we're going to jump right into it. So these are the key terms. You saw these on the first page of the chapter. Make sure that you know all of these. These are really, really important. This is typical lingo that you're going to be needing to know throughout the semester. So it's a really good foundation to start. So just make sure that you're reading through all of these and that you really understand, the difference between a cold call and a warm call, what inside sales means, an outbound call versus an inbound call. What a CRM system is. Customer relationship management is used in all sorts of businesses, especially in the terms of sales. So it's really, really important. And then, of course, Salesforce management as well, understanding what that means and how you can utilize that into your job. So let's talk about the truth of sales. Everybody has their own definition. Everybody has their own perception of what sport sales really is, and then sales in general. I asked you in the flip grid introduction last week what you thought about sales, what it meant to you when it came up. Were you terrified? Are you excited? Do you view it as an opportunity? Do you view it as something that can help you get your foot in the door? All of those things, and you answer those questions, right? But the truth is that sales are the lifeblood of any sport organization. They are an absolute must. And why is that? It's because every single sport organization, and really organization, relies on revenue coming into that organization, right? How is there financial viability within a company? Revenue, making money. How is money coming into the organization as opposed to the costs which are going out of the organization? So simply put, sales bring in money, okay, which is extremely attractive and extremely important. And I can promise you that if you can provide value in terms of revenue or money coming into an organization, whether that's coming up with an idea or actually being the person that's going out there and selling the idea, that is extremely attractive to any organization. And you'll be able to find a job if you can show that you are bottom line positive instead of bottom line negative, right? Organizations that have people that are just bottom line negative, those are the first people that are going to be cut. Those are the first people that go out the door when cutbacks happen, when a recession happens, when COVID happens, all of those unfortunate things that we have to deal with. So being someone that is bottom line, meaning bottom line positive, somebody who's bringing money into the organization is really, really important. So that financial viability. Without financial viability, of course, organizations cease to exist. They can't continue to operate. And there are a number of different ways that we're going to talk about, specifically with sport organizations, how sales and how revenue is brought into an organization. You can see several different examples here listed, from tickets to premium seats to sponsorships to memberships. Memberships are something that are really new, and we're going to be talking in depth on kind of what that is and how this shifts in terms of the sales chain, how it shifted through the years. But there are several other, different ways that people probably haven't thought about, whether it's media rights. When you're watching your favorite sport organization on TV, what channel are you watching it on? Are you watching it on cable? Are you watching it on Twitch? Are you watching it on, Peacock Sport, streaming, live streaming services, whatever that looks like? Those all have to do with the media rights that are there. So in essence, sales are everything. And the more that you can get comfortable with that, the more that you can really wrap your head around being part of a sales, the more successful that you're going to be, right? Think about it. Whether you're trying to interview for a job, you're selling yourself. Whether you're trying to be in social media, you're selling a brand, right? Or you can think in traditional sense of ticket sales, donation sales to a nonprofit, right? Foundations, all of those things, every single thing that you do, whether it's trying to find a partner to live out the rest of your life with, whether it's trying to find a job, whether it's simply trying to, push forward and do the best that you can, you're selling yourself or you're selling an organization. So everything that we do are sales. Here's some of the myths, and I'm sure that you can pick out maybe some of these that you've either even thought about, or that you've used in the past, but these are all myths. All right. The first is that I'm not a salesperson. Everyone is a salesperson. Okay. It doesn't matter what you're doing. We just talked about some of the examples, but I'm not a salesperson is not true. It's not true of sales. Okay. Everyone, everything that you do is looped into sales. All right. So the more that you can wrap your head around, you know what? I am a salesperson, the easier that this is going to be. Sales are intimidating. They're not. How many of you have friends? How many have, a partner? How many have family? Sales, all right, are is different than it used to be viewed as, right? The whole boiler room approach, the whole transactional sales as opposed to relationship building. That's really what sales is about now, right? Is relationship building. How can we build relationships? How can we connect with people? How can we find out what people are looking for so that we can provide a service or a product to them to create a mutualistic relationship? That's really what we're looking for, right? So sales don't have to be intimidating when you think about it in that terms. Sales are simply just the act of relationship building. So think about it that way. Don't necessarily think of, I'm asking this person for money or I'm doing this. No, you're providing a service or a product that somebody needs. And in essence, they're going to feel great about that, right? So think about it that way. Fandom is all that it takes to sell in the sporting industry, right? People think that all the time. If you build it, they will come. That's often a phrase that's been used. It dates back to Field of Dreams, the baseball movie where, Kevin Costner is basically told that if he builds this field out of the cornfield, baseball field out of a cornfield, that people will come and use it. Okay. And that's simply just not the truth, right? There's several organizations out there that do very well. All right. That's another thing that we think about is, in a sales organization or sports organization, if a team is successful, they're automatically going to bring people in. It's just simply not the case. All right. So we have to get creative of what we think about that we're actually selling. We have to be really defined in what the product or the services are that we're offering so that we can really clearly connect with consumers that want what we're offering. The Tampa Bay Rays are a great example of this. The Tampa Bay Rays, and there's an article that's posted on Canvas that you can take a look at. So please do that. But the Tampa Bay Rays have been successful for years, and yet they don't draw anybody to their games, right? So this whole fandom thing, this whole if you build it, they will come. If a team is successful, a lot of times fans don't necessarily care about that, right? The Paducah Chiefs, which you're going to learn a little bit more about, is a summer college baseball team in my hometown in Paducah, Kentucky. My dad is actually the general manager of the team. They draw, the most people in their league year in and year out, whether they're winning games or they're not winning games. People come to the ballpark because of the association, because of the great services that they offer, because of the morale that it builds within the community and with the organization. So there are several things that they do to try to connect with people in that way. They're not talking about winning games and they're not drawing fans because they're winning games. They're drawing that because of the other things that the organization is offering, right? Salespeople are born, they're not made. That's simply not true as well. You can certainly become a salesperson. You should become a salesperson. You should think in terms of sales, because by thinking in terms of sales, you're thinking in terms of relationship building, and you're also thinking in terms of how you can provide value from a monetary basis to an organization. And then finally, all salespeople are the same. I used to think this as well. I used to think that every salesperson is, extroverted. Every salesperson loves to speak. Every salesperson loves to talk about money. It's simply not the case. I can remember really young in my career when I started at the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and a colleague of mine was in charge of our foundation. And she is an introvert. She is shy. She doesn't like to public speak. She doesn't necessarily like to talk about money, but she is extremely, extremely powerful and a good person, what she does, right? So it just shows you that not all salespeople are the same. They don't even have all the same characteristics. All that they have to keep in mind is that they're passionate about what they're trying to do and that they understand the consumer and they understand the products and services that they can provide to a consumer, right? And then finally, that all salespeople are aggressive, pushy, manipulative, insincere, dishonest. We always think about the used car salesman. And I'm sure there are good used car salesmen out there, but that's just always the cliche that's used. And that's simply not the case as well. Maybe in the old model of transactional thinking, let's just bring as much money in as we can. But nowadays, we're really trying to provide value, create relationships, and provide value. That's really what sales is about. And then very, very finally, this is important to everybody who's taking this class. Learning about sales is a waste of time for aspiring sport managers who want to work in other areas. And that's simply not the case. Most people in the sport industry start off in a true conditional or conventional sales model. All right. Whether they're ticket sales, whether they're, it doesn't matter what they're selling, right? Some sort of sale. That's where a majority of the jobs are in this sport industry. But the reality is, by doing that, you're proving that you can do a number of different things. And we're going to talk about some of those skill set that you can learn in sales, as well as some of the characteristics that come along with having a job in sales. So the need for sales, right? Technology advancements are certainly becoming a thing. How many of us view, sporting events at home as opposed to going in person? The condensed games or highlights afterwards. People are consuming information. People are watching sporting events and entertainment in different ways. And so there's a need for sales to showcase how we can pull people into the traditional arenas, stadiums, so that they can see those things. So certainly technology and every, sort of industry, but specifically in business, technology is changing things quite a bit. Increasing competition, right? There are more opportunities for people to spend their time. People are finding other ways, whether it's, again, staying at home and watching games, whether it's different forms of, entertainment. There are so many more things that people can do with their time. And so there's a big market for sales because of the need and the increasing competition. Rapidly escalating player salaries, right? Sports are costing more money. Because of that, organizations are having to find more money. They're having to bring in more money into the organization to offset for the costs. Everything we talk about through this entire course, think about it in terms of revenue and costs. Revenue is money coming in, costs are money going out, right? So player salaries are certainly a cost. So we have to bring in more revenue to cover the escalating player salaries. Organizations who used to focus on transactional sales are now spending more time on resources and transformational sales, relationship building. Again, I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. Everything that we do in terms of sales, we have to think about it in terms of relationship building. Relationship building, that is everything. How are we connecting with the consumer? How are we building that consumer base so that they feel special and that they feel like they're providing a value or a service from our organization? All right, no more transactional sales. No more you are an X. We're trying to sell tickets to this X person, and then we're trying to sell tickets to this Y person. We need to know who X is. Who is this person? How do they tick? What do they like? So that we can provide catered, customized experiences to this person to keep them coming back, right? And then lastly, the boiler room approach is being replaced by the inside sales leads generated from CRM or customer relationship management systems or point of sale systems driven by technology, right? Again, that's what I was just talking about. We need to understand who's walking through the door. We need to understand who is purchasing and who we're targeting so that we can speak to their needs to provide a service of value to this person. So what are some of the job responsibilities of salespeople? First is selling, right? This is very obvious. It includes, outbound warm calls, setting appointments, face-to-face presentations, tours, receiving inbound calls, and using electronic communications, whether it's email, whether it's phone calls, whether it's social media, to reach out to people that are coming through, also known as prospects, people that are considering using our organization for their products and their services. Prospecting is a continual approach of trying to identify who you're going to be targeting. So finding people that you should be targeting for your products and services. You have customer relationship management, which is essentially a process that includes identifying, attracting, differentiating, and retaining customers with the assistance of technology, right? So this is a system where we can basically categorize everybody that we've spoken to, everybody that we're targeting, and then all the success that we've had, or the people who just want to be left alone. Product knowledge. People are replied. They need to know all the differentiating products that are out there, the services that are out there, the different categories and the different tiers that are there. There used to just be, if you're going to a Major League Baseball game, there used to just be one ticket, right? You're going to purchase your ticket and you're going to go in and this is going to be it. Now we have all sorts of different opportunities. We have package deals where you can get concessions or merchandise or before game experiences or after game experiences. You have suites, where you have club levels. You have all these different things and different ticket values and things of that nature. So salespeople have to know about product knowledge. And then finally, sales force management, which is essentially planning, staffing, training, directing, and evaluating, salespeople, right? So technology, utilizing who is being successful, who is talking to people, and how many people are they talking to, and then what sort of sales they're generating from these conversations. So those are all really important. The transferable skills of salespeople, communication skills. Again, talked about relationship building. How do you build relationships? You communicate, you talk, you type, all sorts of communication. Those are really, really important things that, transfer to all sorts of jobs, not just necessarily in sports sales, but in all sorts of business, as well as, basically anything that you're going to do. Communication is always number one. Computer skills, whether it's a CRM system, whether it's a point of sale system, whether it's sending emails, whether it's logging phone calls, all of those things, break down to computer skills. And computer skills, as we know, are very, very important in these days, as most things are done through the internet and through computers. Creativity, finding catered ways to speak with clients, finding ways of attracting people to your organization requires creativity. Sales bundling processes, different offerings, those all take creativity. Organizational skills. In reality, when you're in sales, you're talking to a lot of people. You're trying to remember a bunch of conversations that you've had. You're trying to talk to as many different people as you can. So organization, to try to maintain organizational skills, is very important. And then finally, professional development, right? This is a great way to learn about different ways to operate with people, to work with various types of people, to work with, CEOs all the way down to the common consumer, to learn about different areas of the organization, to learn about different departments within that organization. These are all really important things. And certainly there's a lot of professional development that comes along with sales. So let's talk about some of the metrics for salespeople. First off, we have the number of dials that are made. So this is simple. You have a phone, all right? I'm going to pick up my phone and I'm going to call somebody, right? And I'm going to, dial my number and I'm going to talk to that person. How many times have we dialed a number? That is the first metric that is used for salespeople. An appointment ratio. Out of those number of dials that I've made, how many appointments am I going to land? That's the appointment ratio. A closing ratio. Out of the appointments that I schedule, the meetings that I actually have with people, how many of those am I closing? How many of those appointments am I converting into consumers or sales? And then finally, the dollar to sales ratio, right? So dollars to sales basically takes away the number of sales that you're making and the dollar amount, the revenue that's generated from those total sales. So these are all four metrics that are used for monitoring salespeople. And there are essentially numbers that are associated with each of these, but it all starts at the top with the number of dials that are made. You can't have appointments without picking up the phone. You can't close people unless you have those appointments. And then you can't generate revenue if you're not closing. Characteristics of successful salespeople. So we talked a lot about some of those myths, but now let's talk about truly what it takes to be a successful salesperson, all right? First of all, it takes confidence. And that's something that will come with time, but that's something that we're going to work on all this semester, not just from me talking to you, but also you practicing with 2 projects that we have and some of the other things that we have. So we need to get you confident and more comfortable with sales, right? Positive attitude. All right. That goes with everything, right? We're going to have a positive attitude. If you don't have a positive attitude when you're trying to sell somebody on something, they're not going to reciprocate it. They're not going to be interested. They're going to think, why in the world is he or he or she trying to sell me on something when they're not even, interested. They're not even intrigued by what they're telling me, right? Someone that's passionate, right? This is sports, people. People are passionate about their sports. You have to bring the passion every single day. You have to bring the passion. Talk to them about how exciting it is that you work for this organization. Talk to them about, all the great things that they can see, by coming out to the ballpark or coming to the arena. Passion has to be there and it can't be faked, right? Emotional intelligence. This is really important as well. Am I talking to somebody and am I listening, or am I just talking and talking and talking and not hearing anything that they're saying? If somebody says that they want to come in on the weekend and I try to sell them weekday tickets, not only are they going to not purchase, but they're going to be really disinterested and they're probably not going to want to work with me in the future, right? So having emotional intelligence, having empathy. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry, this isn't a good time to purchase for me. My dog just died. Maybe reach back to me in a week. I'm going to reach back to him in a week and I'm going to say, hey, I'm really sorry. I hope you're doing all right after the loss of your dog. You told me I should reach back out in a week. I just wanted to see how things are going. Is this a better time for you? Yeah, this is a great time. Thanks for the empathy that you showed. Thanks for remembering my dog. Still really hurtful, but I think I'm ready to move forward as sales, buying some tickets right now, right? And then being trustworthy, somebody that they can trust. If you're selling somebody on something, you better make sure that you know what you're selling them and that you're trustworthy, as opposed to someone who's literally just trying to bring in money to an organization. People can see that. All right, so let's talk about some of the characteristics of sales career specifically. Number one is job security. All right, a number, and the book gets into the specifics on terms of the actual percentage, but all entities, all organizations have some sort of sales. All right, some sort of sales. Job security is really, really important, as you'll learn as you go through your career. And so having this job security, having so many jobs available, if you can sell something, you're going to have job security. Advancement opportunities, same thing. If you sell, people are going to continue to give you more responsibility. They're going to continue to give you opportunities to show yourself at a higher level. So a ton of different advancement opportunities. We're going to talk into the specific roles in future chapters so that you can see some of those things. Compensation, all right. The great thing about sales is, you make what you sell. If you're selling, you're going to make money. If you're not selling, you're probably not going to make much money, right? So you're betting on yourself, all right? And I've always done this in my career. I would much rather say, hey, give me the opportunity to make more, right? As opposed to saying, this is what I'm going to make, regardless of if I do a great job or I don't do a great job. I would rather bet on myself to say, hey, give me opportunities for advancement, give me more compensation numbers if I do a good job. And if I don't do a good job, you don't have to pay me more. And then job variety, right? We talked about the different, areas of sales that you can see, whether it's ticket sales, whether it's partnership sales, whether it's media rights. There are so many different types of things. And the cool thing about it is you're talking to people, right? You're talking to different people all day, every day. So giving the opportunity to have a variety of conversations, to talk to CEOs, to talk to entry-level people. You're talking to so many different people and you're having so many different conversations that it keeps it very, very fresh, which has always been important to me. And just a note here at the end, this kind of wraps up chapter 1. If you have any questions or comments or some stuff is just not making sense, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to be here for you. I have a lot of experience in this. For some of these things, it may seem very, very, high level. But if you're missing out on things or you want me to delve deeper into certain things, feel free to reach out. We can have a conversation of this. But the biggest takeaway of this entire lecture is sales are everything, right? Sales are everything we do. Wrap your head around that, right? Be confident, be ready to take on sales, because the people who don't are the people who get left behind, and the people that can truly have a sales mind are the people that are going to advance. So thanks so much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you.